In the 23rd century, people live carefree existences until they are terminated on their 30th birthday. Join us as we chat about adorable practical effects, ageism in a world with no old people, and a death sentence for a domesticated rabbit. Then we see if Logan's Run stands the test of time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Test of Time. My name is Alan One, and joining me is my favorite Sandman, James, I don't know, let's say James 4.
Sure, you want me to be James the Fourth?
They don't say the fourth in the movie. They just give it a number, and there's Logan 5 and what is it, Francis 7, which seems low. We don't really know how long this domed society has been going on. They're only up to Logan 5?
My thought is that since everyone is killed at age 30, they just recycle the same names.
Well, yeah, they're numbered. So we're talking about Logan's Run. This movie is celebrating its 50th anniversary in June. It's the end of May, but we've got a busy June packed with other movies that we have planned. And I'd never seen this movie. You said you'd never seen this movie before, but I've heard of it, and I thought it was worth checking out. For anyone who doesn't know what this movie's about, it's a dystopian sci-fi film set in a futuristic dome city where people live lives of luxury and pleasure, but only until they turn 30. Then everyone participates in a ritual called carousel, where they can supposedly achieve renewal or a life extension. Logan 5, a law enforcement officer known as a Sandman, is tasked with hunting down runners who try to escape their fate. After being ordered to infiltrate an underground resistance movement and find their hidden sanctuary, Logan begins questioning the society he serves. Alongside a woman named Jessica, he escapes the city and discovers the outside world. They meet an old man, and it's the first time they've ever seen someone over the age of 30. They learn that nobody survives carousel, and it's really just a method of population control. When Logan returns to the city, he confronts the central computer system and reveals that there is no sanctuary. The computer cannot process the contradiction between this truth and its programming, causing it to malfunction and self-destruct. Chaos erupts throughout the city as the automated systems fail. The citizens of the dome who've never seen the outside world or an elderly person before eventually leave and emerge into the real world. So, James, when this movie came out 50 years ago, how did it do at the box office?
Oh, it did fantastic. Like you said, it opened June 23rd, 1976. The film had a budget of around $7 or $8 million, and I'm sure, some more money for marketing back then. But it was a huge hit. It grossed $25 million. It was number 13 at the box office that year. This was a huge hit. This was before Star Wars.
I was thinking about that too, that this comes out in 76, Star Wars comes out in 77, and the special effects in Star Wars were groundbreaking at the time, and they still look pretty damn good now. The miniatures in Logan's Run, they look adorable. And I realize that sounds condescending, and yeah, it is a little condescending, but don't they? They look so cute. It looks like a school project. It looks like what the middle schoolers did for the science fair.
It's obviously practical effects. Do you remember Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, how he used to have the land of make-believe?
Yeah,
This
of course.
Looks like a much better version of that, but still it's a toy.
I don't think it looks that much better than Mr.
No,
Rogers'
it's
Neighborhood.
much better than Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It's not Thomas the Tank Engine, but it's
better, but I don't know it's
obviously
much
a
better.
miniature. Whereas Star Wars, I think even to this day, I'm kind of surprised when I see that all those things were just miniatures when they did the Death Star. It's kind of that good.
Yeah. In a way, it's unfair to compare because a TIE fighter, an X-Wing, a Star Destroyer, those are all made up things. And so
Exactly.
it's
Another
easy
good
to
point.
just kind of make it be whatever you want it to be.
That's not what a TIE fighter looks like.
Exactly. This is showing a city. Buildings, trees, the monorail. I don't know when monorails first existed.
Well, they're definitely in Disney World.
Yeah, it does kind of look like Disney World with the monorail shooting back and forth. It just all looks fake and hokey because it's supposed to be something that takes place on Earth. Even in a dome futuristic city, it's still supposed to be earthbound, and it just doesn't look great.
I'm glad they didn't go with some kind of animation. It does deserve saying, I'm impressed that they did that. And I think that people in 1977 would have been wowed.
76.
Sorry, you want to tell people in 1976 that are walking out of that theater, you really like that movie and you really like those special effects? Wow, I envy what you are about to see 1 year from now.
Well, that's why. That's why everyone was blown away when Star Wars came out, because no one had ever seen anything like that. And it's worth pointing out that Logan's Run won an Academy Award for visual effects, which is hilarious. The visual effects in the carousel scene are also cheesy. I did respect the wire work. I was a little confused because what they're saying is that when the people are in carousel, some of them may get renewed. And you just see everybody explode. And so I was like, well, wait a second. Are some of these people supposed to not explode? No, I think it's just that you see everybody explode and then maybe you interpret that they're reborn. There is some religious subtext in this movie later on when they're in Washington, D.C., and they're talking about sanctuary. Is it real? Is it not real? I was like, oh, are they talking about heaven as this thing of maybe it's real, maybe it's not real? What matters is if you believe in it, then that gives you purpose to keep going. And you're not going to be afraid of death if you believe in heaven. And you're not going to be afraid of carousel if you believe that there's a possibility in renewal. But in that early scene, it's only unclear because you see everybody blowing up and the crowd is chanting, renewal, renewal. It's like, yeah, I don't know that anyone's being renewed here. You see them blowing up.
You're right. It's one big bug zapper. That's what it seems to be. That everyone floats up. I was confused as well. And are there children in this environment?
In Logan's Run?
Yeah.
Yeah, we see them, the Cubs. We see all of the children in the... I think they call it cathedral or something. It's not sanctuary,
right.
But the kids are separate. They're cubs and they are violent. And then they can stay in this separate area, I think, until they turn 15 or 16. And then they have to join the regular society. But I wasn't totally clear if they can be in that separate part and then they have to rejoin, or do they have to be in that separate part and then they have to join? I wasn't clear what was optional and what was mandatory.
I mean, I knew there were children, but my question was, I wasn't clear whether or not there was like an accelerated aging or something.
No.
Because when they refer to their ages, they're like, but I'm only a 6 or something.
Everyone wears the color of their gem in their hand. It's divided up, I think, yellow, green, blue, red. The greens all wear greens and the reds all wear reds. So it's visually clear. But the thing with the kids is also interesting because the movie starts with Logan at the nursery and he sees the baby and he's kind of tapping on the glass. And then we find out when we meet the old man later that he was born biologically with a mom and a dad through sex, which is not what's happening in the domed city. So it does kind of beg the question, how are kids made in this domed city? It's not sex. I think there's a lot that's implied with what the all-powerful computer is doing. It's creating babies, it's raising them, it's somehow creating food and power and water, and all of these things are being delivered to the people inside the city, but It's not explained at all. I think really the only explanation we get is there's a computer that does it. Period, full stop.
That's true. And I just think the computer knows what it's doing, and people never quite see what is really happening.
Right. So the computer's plan is for Logan to follow the Ankh, which will lead to Sanctuary, because the computer knows that there are people missing. It's basically a math problem of how many people are born and how many people die in Carousel, and there are just these extras who must be fleeing the city. And so Logan is tasked with finding this hidden sanctuary. Before that, he's met Jessica, and she's got the Ankh, which, by the way, if that is the hidden symbol of the underground, she's wearing it very prominently displayed. A huge Ankh necklace. You know, maybe don't advertise to the secret police that you're part of the secret resistance.
It's like wearing the Rebel Alliance logo on around your neck in Star Wars.
It just seems like a bad move. But so he is ostensibly going undercover, you know, to infiltrate the runners. And he's following the computer's objective. He really is just using Jessica to find the sanctuary. But then somewhere along the line, he turns good and falls for Jessica, and he wants to flee the city. Where that turn happens is not at all clear. There's the raid on the runners, the resistance. They're in some underground boiler room looking thing. And when Logan gets there, he alerts the other Sandmen. You see it. He hits the thing on his hip belt, then it lights up, and then all the other Sandmen come. So he's working for the computer at least up until that point.
Right.
And he never gets called out. Jessica never says, hey, how did they all show up? How did they know where we were? Did you do it? He never confesses. He never apologizes. Yes, I was working for the computer, but now I've fallen for you and I want to live, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, like the reluctant hero's journey thing is just skipped. They just kind of like fast forward that part.
I agree. Like, it's very confusing. I don't quite understand, because even the computer immediately says, when asked, you're not going to be returned to yellow or green status, whatever you are now, when you come back.
No, it doesn't say that. He asks the question and the computer never answers, and then says the question has been answered. The lack of an answer is the answer, but the computer should know that if it's a computer, I guess.
Right. And I understand completely why he ultimately turns, because A, he learns the lie. His crystal doesn't mean anything on his hand.
Sure.
He sees an old man. He learns about reproduction, you know, just blah, blah, blah. But I don't understand why, even in the very beginning parts after meeting with the computer, he works with the computer at all. Like, instead of being a double agent, just be like a non-agent, like just be a traitor and work with the runners. I don't understand why he's still loyal to this computer that basically just took away his life.
Well, there's one line that Logan says when he's talking with Jessica, and she's kind of confronting him. Well, you used to hunt runners and now you are a runner. And he says, well, now it's different because it's me. Which I think is a brutally honest answer.
Very modern answer.
And universal, right? You shouldn't have abortions. Abortions are not allowed for you. But if I knock up my girlfriend, I'm getting her an abortion. You know, like that's a thing right-wing politicians do. It's different when it's for me. Honestly, it's a shitty thing that people do. But I honestly kind of like that Logan admitted that. And he's like, yeah, well, yeah, I'll shoot other people if they're running. But if I have to run, no, I don't want to die.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, people are like, it affects me. Now I care about this particular nuance of the law that I was adamantly against and literally killed people for doing what I now want to do.
Right.
And hypocrisy, has stood the test of time.
Yeah. And while Logan and Jessica are on the run, they go to basically a plastic surgery place where you can get a new face. I thought that was pretty interesting because in this society, you die at 30. So people are at their most attractive, and yet there is still a market for getting a new face, getting plastic surgery. That's crazy, but also believable. Human nature, right? Your 20s, that's peak beauty, but you might still just want to change. You might still want something different. It's an interesting idea. It's not really explored all that much. You get to see Farrah Fawcett Majors in that scene. She has a small role, but a prominent credit because her star was rising from Charlie's Angels. So they wanted to give her due.
Yeah, I absolutely get it. That I understand why people were in love with her in the 70s. And by the way, public service now, she died of a cancer that is preventable by getting what is known as Gardasil, or the HPV vaccine. Not available to Miss Fawcett, so nothing she could have done.
And people don't want to get that vaccine because
And it also affects men too. Michael Douglas, the actor, he has cancer from HPV, and it's the fourth biggest cancer killer of women, cervical cancer.
And it's crazy because it's preventable. Get the vaccine.
Get the vaccine. I actually liked her character too. And when she dies, I felt bad for her.
Right. And apparently there was a longer fight scene between Farrah Fawcett Majors, Holly, I think is her name, and Jessica. But then when they get to the boiler room and Holly shows up, Holly's like, there's the Sandman. He killed Doc. And that's kind of sort of true. But, it wasn't really Logan. It was Francis, the other Sandman that comes in. And Jessica's like begging Holly to remember, there was another Sandman. Don't you remember? And then Holly's like, oh, wait, I do remember. There was a second Sandman. It's like, this happened 5 fucking minutes ago. What the hell is going on here?
It was a weird scene, whether it was bad writing, bad acting, or just kind of went on a little too long before she picked up on the story.
Right. Then they escape from the boiler room. They go to this ice land, which is patrolled by the robot Box. If the miniatures are adorable, Box is not adorable. Box is a little sad. Like this practical effect, it's so clearly a dude in a big bulky costume, and the dude can't really move around. He can't really convey the anthropomorphized robotic thing that they're going for. I was kind of wincing while I was watching this character.
This, unfortunately, is not a good special effect.
No.
Like, there's some really good special effects in this film. There's a part where Logan shoots a runner early on, and the guy dissolves in a stop-motion effect that I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best effect in the movie. One more thing about Box. He's trapping people who are running. The people who are trying to find sanctuary all get stopped because his job was to capture food and freeze it, but then there is no more food. So now he's capturing and freezing all of the people who come in. That doesn't make a ton of logical sense, but okay, fine. Like, that's good enough. But it just poses bigger questions. Who programmed Box? Where was he getting this food? Who was he making the food for? Is the food for the runners who are going to Sanctuary? Is it for the people who live in the Dome City? Did he program himself to do this? I think there are some interesting questions there that we just don't get answers to because boom, 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 it all explodes.
Well, I think it is interesting, and we don't know where the food comes from. We don't know. Maybe it's made from these frozen runners. Maybe it's made from plants. Maybe there's robots going outside and getting food for people. We have no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe they eat a slush all day and they don't know any better because that's all they've been ever raised on, but they basically have sex all day, and so maybe they don't care.
Well, but do they have sex all day? This is another part of my problem with the movie. So in that opening title card, it says that mankind lives only for pleasure, freed by the servo mechanisms which provide everything.
After like a war.
They are the survivors of war, overpopulation, and pollution.
Yes.
So only for pleasure implies sex, food, drink, drugs, maybe recreation. We see no food in the movie. We don't see them drinking. There is sex. When Logan meets Jessica, she's teleported into the room for sex. She says no. And then Logan says, oh, do you prefer women? She's like, no, that's not it. And that was a big deal in 76 to be very nonchalant about, oh, you must be gay. That's cool, whatever.
Well, if sex is not tied to reproduction, who the hell gives a shit?
And that's great. It's also great that she says no, and Logan's like, okay. I mean, he does ask a couple times, but he doesn't force her.
I just think he's surprised and confused. That's all.
Right. That's the reason she's teleported into this room. And so he doesn't really get it. Also, when they're on the run, they run through, I think they call it a love club. But that seems like it's just kind of one little portion of the Dome City. There's also a scene where Logan and Francis are seemingly at a gym spa type place where there's hot tubs, and while they're talking by the hot tub, there's people doing backflips in the background, which I thought was kind of funny. But my point is that this is supposed to be a utopian society based around pleasure, and I don't think the movie does a really great job of selling that. Other than those things I just mentioned, so much of what we see is just people milling around in what looks like a mall / office space, mixed use development kind of a thing. I'm not getting that these people are living the perfect life.
I agree that it's vague. I feel like a remake of this movie would probably do a lot more of exposition and talk about more about the utopianness and not just sex.
Well, it doesn't need to talk about it. It needs to show it.
Right. Yeah, I would want to know what the rules are.
Yes.
And also, what the fuck is going on in our society?
It's a quote-unquote utopian society, but not really. I think the way to make the story more dramatic, the way to have more dramatic tension between Logan and Francis, is to show that this is a society that Francis would truly believe is perfect. And that Logan is going to come to the realization, no, being killed at 30 makes the whole thing terrible. There should be more conflict there. Is it utopia? Is it dystopia? And I get what the movie's going for, but I just don't feel like it shows it adequately. You know, the movie doesn't spend much time on that. It does spend a lot of time once Logan and Jessica leave the Dome City, and there is so much of, what is this? I don't know what that big yellow ball is in the sky, but it sure is hot. And I don't know what these four-legged creatures are that are running around. What is this thing in the ground that says beloved husband and it has numbers on it? I don't know. They just go through every little aspect of modern life, modern being 1976, and point to it and talk about how they don't understand what it is because it's the year 2274, they live in a dome, and they've never seen any of these things. I get it. I feel like the audience got it after the first time they didn't recognize something, and there's just so goddamn much of that in the back half of the movie.
In a weird way, I kind of appreciated it because sometimes in a sci-fi film, an Earthling is transported to, let's just say they're transported to whatever, some alien world. And for a moment, they're like, holy shit, I'm in a different planet. And then nothing else really surprises them. And it seems like they're going to go, holy shit, that's what a bathroom is? Holy shit, that's what, how you drink water? Everything would surprise you. It is cool that they are showing that. I mean, the sun, I thought that was actually fantastic because I thought that was a really interesting, cool way to do it. You could totally do it 1977, 76 technology. You could understand that they're feeling the sun for the first time. And I could totally understand why would an all-intelligent AI allow cats in a dome? You know, they're going to shit everywhere. They're going to bring diseases. No cats are allowed there. They've never seen a cat. I think that some of the what is this actually I thought was weirder from the old man because he seems to know so many things, but also he doesn't know other things. But like, how did he know that Congress used to be owned by the people?
He says the words are on the wall.
Right, he does say that. How does he know how to read? I guess it's implied because he said he was raised by his parents, who must have taught him how to read. And in that case, if you're an old man sitting in a post-apocalyptic world, you probably have read every single book in existence, because what else are you going to do?
A lot of the old man's dialogue is quoting T.S. Eliot, a book of poems about cats. So he does know how to read, and maybe he has this book, or maybe not. The one line that really struck out to me is when he was talking about the different names of the cats, and they have 3 names, and he says, "You must think I'm mad as a hatter." Okay, he's saying this to 2 people who have never seen a cat. He's been living in isolation. How would anyone know the phrase mad as a hatter? They wouldn't. Maybe if he read it in a book, sure, but he wouldn't expect the other 2 to get it. So there's a lot here that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I like the old man. I wish it was done a little bit better.
Also, keep in mind, this movie came out in 1976. This is the bicentennial. It wasn't planned that way. It's based on a book. They started making the movie in 1969. It took a long time. It was in development hell. So it's almost coincidence that it came out in 76. But I do think that it is symbolic that this movie is coming out just a few weeks before the country's 200th birthday, and it's showing the capital abandoned and taken over by plant life and feral cats and this one old dude. And I think there's a bigger picture statement about the decay of society and this government that the old man says it's for the people. This building belongs to everyone, but now it belongs to no one. And whatever the government was trying to do, it failed. Or I guess maybe you could argue that it succeeded because the dome society is functioning as it's supposed to, I guess. But I kind of interpreted it as an anti-government statement. And I think that that meant something in 1976. Then there's the fight scene where Francis finally tracks Logan down and they have a big fight to the death. Francis grabs a flagpole and starts using it as a weapon. Obviously, this was not a thing that they were thinking about when they made this movie, but that gave me flashbacks to January 6th. People in the Capitol using whatever they could as weapons to beat the shit out of whoever they didn't like. It's a disturbing image, and it definitely hits different now. But yeah, just this idea that Congress is not a place of solutions and figuring out how we can solve problems. It's just a place where it's derelict and decaying and people fight to the death. As we approach the 250th birthday of America, I feel like that symbolism hits hard. But anyway, Jessica wants to just live out in the world with Logan, but Logan feels that he has to go back and save everybody inside the Dome City. And then they have the idea of bringing the old man back with them. But then they get to this pool where they're going to have to swim into the city. And Logan decides that the old man can't do it. And I kind of felt like in this world where there are no old people, ageism is still alive and well. That he just takes one look at the old guy and is like, you can't swim. How the fuck do you know? Maybe he can. Maybe he was doing laps in the reflecting pool when he was younger.
Ow, this was not swimming across a river. This was swimming down 50 feet and then opening a grate.
Logan doesn't know any of that when he decides that the old man can't make it.
Right. You definitely do not bring the old man the first time. But I was thinking, you open the grates, you go back. Okay, let's rest here 5 minutes. And then, you know what? We're going to go in with the old man. We're going to take 2 deep breaths and we're going to go underwater.
Right. Now we know we're going to have to hold our breath for 30 seconds or whatever.
I thought it was odd that they're not bringing the proof that they need, which is the old man, because
yes,
just his wrinkles, that's a fascinating thing to these people.
But when they get into the city, people are going to Carousel and they're like, no, don't go into Carousel. No, it's all a lie. they don't have proof. They sound like crazy people. If they had the old man with them, then that would have been a very different thing. That can't happen for plot purposes because then we need to have the scene where the computer interrogates Logan and I guess reads his mind via hologram, where Logan subconsciously tells the computer that there is no sanctuary. That causes the computer to malfunction, but then also Logan shoots it a bunch of times and it blows up and the entire city crumbles. The people escape. They see the old man. Hooray. The end. That's a weird ending because all I could think about is these people are fucking doomed. They had this computer provide everything for them. Food, drink, water, power. They have lost all of it. They have lost their entire infrastructure, their entire way of life. According to Box and the old man, there's no fish anymore. They don't know how to farm. They don't know how to hunt. There are no animals to hunt or fish. They are screwed.
That is fascinating. I did not think about that.
It's a quote unquote happy ending. Yay, we don't live under this repressive computer system anymore. Great. But what are they going to do? I do not think this is a good thing for these people.
You're absolutely right, Al. That's something I didn't think about. It's like when people think that they're being nice and releasing a rabbit that's a pet rabbit and has been domesticated. That rabbit will be dead in 24 hours. I just heard that on the radio. I don't know if that's true. But it sounds true because how the hell does a rabbit that is literally hand-fed or gets food in a bowl that magically appears every day, they're brought to someone who makes sure they don't have diseases. How the hell does this thing survive in the woods when the magic food and medicine lady doesn't show up every day?
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. These people are completely doomed.
Oops. I mean, yay, they're not killed at 30, but they're not going to live long, healthy lives.
I think that could be easily fixed, though. I think they could be fixed by the old man having all that knowledge and being like, it's something called farming. And even just that man telling him and end with him teaching other people. But you're right, it really leaves them to be sitting ducks because I don't really see the old man as a farmer. I see him as a forager. I feel like he's probably eaten leaves and berries for the last 30, 40 years.
Right. But James, let me ask you what you think of the movie as a whole. Do you think Logan's Run stands a test of time?
I think that the themes of this film are quite fascinating. And I think that the outside world is sanctuary. I think that the fact that there is a viable world, a lot of times in these dystopian societies, they tell them, oh no, don't leave the city. It's all poison. Then it turns out that's all lies and the world's perfectly viable. So I find that pretty cool. There's some stuff that's a little silly in the film. I would cut out a bunch of stuff. I think the film is ripe for a remake. However, I understand entirely why this was a big hit. It was fun. I think the acting is quite good in the film. It's a very interesting future and a world that I'd be very fascinated to explore. Whether they even make a movie about it or I feel like it would be a really good series that they would unfortunately tie up in about 2 or 3 seasons, but they would then say, oh, let's add on 3 more seasons. And no, don't do that. It's more about the run and finding sanctuary. But I would really like a remake because it's so obvious about how to fix a bunch of things in this film. Also, what's interesting, I don't think there's any ethnicities in this film. I don't think we saw any minorities, did we, Al?
There are 0 people of color in this quote unquote utopia. Interpret that as you will.
Exactly. You will interpret as you will because certainly the computer made a choice.
As did the filmmakers.
Right.
They made a choice too.
You would think that there would be some minorities. But anyway, I thought that this particular film was kind of interesting and surprised me. So I'm going to say it does stand the test of time. What do you think, Al? Does this film stand the test of time?
So just one last thing about race. Richard Pryor did a bit where he talked about movies that don't have black people in them, and he specifically called out Logan's Run as a movie about the future without any black people. The punchline being that white people are not planning for there to be any black people in the future. And it is worth pointing out that there is one black cast member in Logan's Run. That's Roscoe Lee Brown. And if that's confusing, like, wait, I didn't see a black character in the movie, that's because he plays Box. So he's the guy in the robot costume whose face you can't see. You can kind of see a little bit of his lips moving in certain shots, but there's a black actor in there, but you can't see him. So maybe Richard Pryor had a point. But separate from all that, I think this movie is filled to the brim with really interesting ideas. The idea of a society that seems perfect on the outside, but really isn't because you get killed when you turn 30. I wanted there to be an argument for this society. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I feel like somebody should. Francis should. Francis should really care about these rules and this society and why people die at 30. Francis gives a very little bit of an explanation that he believes in this society and he doesn't like that Logan's questioning it, but it's not explored. The mechanics of the society are not explored. The hedonism of this society is really not explored. Apparently some of that was because they wanted to get a PG rating and not an R. Remember, this is before PG-13, so they had to kind of tone it down with the sex and nudity. Apparently there was a scene that was all about drugs that was either cut or not filmed. So there were some practical limitations there, which I get, but there's a lot of exposition and it still doesn't make much sense. Actually, speaking of exposition, Michael York, who plays Logan, did you recognize him from something else?
He's Basil Exposition, right?
Exactly, from Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, and I think the others too. I don't remember. I don't think his acting is necessarily bad in Logan's Run, but I don't think he's the right actor for this role. He seems miscast, in part because he was well over 30 when he was playing this role in a society where nobody's supposed to be over the age of 30. Most of the lead actors were over 30, not Jenny Agutter. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right, but the actress who played Jessica, she was 23. But yeah, a lot of these people look well over 30. Also, in the book, people died when they turned 21. And so they aged it up for the movie, in part because that way they could cast more people. Also, if you're going to have a hedonistic society of people under 21, that can lead to some ethical questions that I'm sure the movie producers didn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. This is random, but there's a moment when Logan and Jessica are outside the dome and Jessica's not a fan and she screams, "I hate outside! I hate it!" The second that happened, I was like, that's got to be a GIF. If it was a modern movie, they would film it with the knowledge that it would become a GIF. Obviously, 50 years ago, that wasn't the case. But sure enough, there is a GIF. I hate outside. I hate it, which I'm sure people use all the time when people are invited to plans and they don't want to go. I'm probably going to incorporate that into my texts going forward because I think that's funny. All of these runners that are living in a boiler room, but not leaving, they have the Ankh and they could use the key and go to the next place, which is a trap by Box the robot, but they don't know that. Why are they just living there? What are they waiting for? None of it makes any sense. It's just poorly made. And I think part of that is the practical limitations of the time. Maybe a remake could do better. I wonder what the book is like. I don't really know, other than they kill everyone at 21, and apparently they do find Sanctuary, and Sanctuary is orbiting Mars. It's off Earth. Okay, neat, whatever. You could do a lot more in a book. You could explore these characters a lot more. But yeah, I just feel like this movie is not great. And if you want to see a movie about a futuristic society where people can't take care of themselves and they depend on a computer for everything, and then at the end they have to learn how to exist in a real cooperative society, watch WALL-E. That's a million times better of a movie. This is just a low-rent version of that. So I'm going to say that Logan's Run does not stand the test of time. Before we wrap up, I did just want to read a review that we got on Apple Podcasts. I love this. This is great. This comes from someone named Cool Lizard 67. Not sure if that's a 6-7 joke, but Cool Lizard 67 gave us 5 stars, and the review says, please, please, and that's all in lowercase letters. And then the next line is, make more, all in capital letters with 12 exclamation points, and then says, P.S., I'm serious. So thank you very much for that, Cool Lizard 67. And guess what? We are going to make more. Next week, we will be back with an episode about Scary Movie. There's a new one coming out this year, so we're going to look back at the original movie from 2000. I'm very excited to rewatch that movie and talk about it. In the meantime, we want to hear from you guys. Write us a review on Apple Podcasts. Write us something even cooler than what Cool Lizard 67 wrote, and I will read it on a future episode. It helps people find the show. We really appreciate those reviews. And talk to us. We are at Test of Time Pod on Facebook, X, Instagram, and Threads. And we'll see you next time, everybody.
Bye.